capabilities you need for the future. We co-create practices around that. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood the concept of that. And then also before I carry on to explaining the other sessions, I just wanted to say that I want to invite you all to just be fully yourselves and just to express whatever you need to express. This is a safe space, and whatever we discuss is completely confidential, and so I just want to acknowledge that. I just really want you to feel at home and at ease and to be yourselves. And so the coaching, as I mentioned, is I'm going to just briefly give you a light sketch of how it works. So I'll discuss the intake now. And then tomorrow, what we do is we look at the methodology that we use. It's called integral coaching. And the reason why it's integral is because we take the whole being, the whole person into perspective. So it's more a holistic way of coaching, because what we do is we go below the surface and we look at which capabilities, what skills, what muscles you need to develop. So there are different forms of coaching. Now, some forms of coaching are goal-oriented. What are your goals for the next month? And then checking against. Integral coaching is taking the whole being. So in other words, not just your mind, it's your heart, it's your body. There's a lot of emphasis. And you'll see when I have sessions with you, I like to start off with some breathing exercises to try and sort of get into the body, because we don't use our body a lot actually. And our body is a very powerful tool to help us. So it's really about what's in our minds, what's in our hearts, and what's in our body, but also our spirit as well. So it's a holistic way of coaching, and the emphasis is on developmental skills, what capabilities, what muscles you need to achieve your topic. So that's basically a sketch of integral coaching. So when I present the offer to you tomorrow, it's going to be we use metaphors. So we use metaphors for your current way of approaching your topic, how you're approaching it as your current way of being. And then we look at a metaphor and you would know this, Emmy, we look at a metaphor for the new way. So what is your new way of working? And then we look at a metaphor for that will incorporate what we've discussed. And I'm going to do my best tonight to come up with a metaphor that you can relate to. And I think, Emmy, you would also know that we don't have to take on the metaphors. If you feel it's a metaphor that you don't relate to, we can change it. So I liked her metaphor, Lindy Ware. What did you think of her talk, by the way? Lindy Ware.
The one for
the stakeholding, the executive coach who spoke on Zoom.
Okay, for us.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you what you thought of her and hers.
Well, yeah, I think she really pulled out key areas.
Yeah.
Especially around how do we make the partnership more stronger.
Yes.
And I think from our context here, as leaders, we should be able to think. And I was speaking to one of the team members that I think the lady who spoke was really spot on by making us think deeper in the way we do our things at FICH, and how we see our partnership is growing, but maintaining it, how do we maintain? So that's a question we are still battling to answer as well.
So I like the way she used the metaphor of the beehive. So that's a similar thing we're going to, I'll bring up a metaphor that is an image of something that you can. So that's something that I'm going to be doing when I present the current way, and then the new way, be around an image, because I think it's an easier way of, when you have an image in your mind, it's an easier way of relating to it. Anyway, so that's some sort of graphic image in your mind. So that's what I'm going to come through tomorrow. And then what I'm also going to be doing tomorrow in the offer is I'm going to be putting down some of what I believe, because we use different lenses, different assessment tools to see the areas where we as coaches feel in order to get to your topic, what are those developmental objectives or those muscles that you need to develop. So I'm going to come and present to you what I believe, and we're going to co-create this too. It's not, it's all about co-creation, what your developmental objectives could be. And once again, we're going to co-create. If the metaphor doesn't work, we can co-create another one. We can co-create the developmental objectives. And then I'm going to also give you a self-observation exercise. So that's the first thing you're going to work on, like your practice. Not really a practice, it's more a self-observation. And that's really to start building the self-awareness, or the team awareness, around how you're approaching a topic. So that's tomorrow. And then over the next sort of period so there's going to be 6 coaching sessions, which we're going to all do via Zoom. And then we're going to do, so that's 6, 7, 8, and the 9th one, the last one will be at the Celebration Summit, where we'll do a conclusion, and we'll do, the last session, conclusion session, the completion, we call it completion. So does that make sense to everyone in terms of the coaching and what to expect over the next few months? Okay, good. Great.
Actually, I was just thinking when the other person was speaking about the metaphor, the D is how they work. But also, I was looking at even how the termite, is it termite? Termites. How the termites works is very similar as well.
So I just hi, by the way. Hello.
Hello.
You just sneaked in here.
I didn't want to interfere.
Can I get your name?
Sam.
Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Sorry, I dropped technology. Yeah, sorry, carry on, Amy.
Yeah, well, this is how they work is also very similar to the metaphor of a bee that she actually explained. You find that they always separate what to do and who should be able to do that. Yes. So I think that's a very good way of being when it comes to issue of leadership as well. But I think we will be planning a lot.
Do you think we can actually chat about that? Yeah. When we go through the topic now, I also like to, if there's an image that comes to your mind, especially your current way of working, there might be an image. So, for example, with basic needs, basic rights, which is the second cohort, which when we were talking about their current way of being, I asked one of them what image comes to mind, and one of them said it's like a cog, the cogs that move together. One of the cogs is missing. So that's what we use as their metaphor, actually. That's a good thing. Maybe we could use that. We can see. It is a lovely metaphor, actually. Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I'm going through my steps here of the intake, so I just want to make sure that everyone's understood that. So now that we're clear on that, we now have to start the next main purpose of the intake is to get clear on the topic, what you would like to work on. So is it okay if we transition now to that part of and would anybody like to grab some water in the meantime? Or everyone all right?
Personally, I'm fine.
Okay.
But maybe the team members.
All right, great. So what we did in the second cohort, as you can see, there are these A4 papers around with some questions. And we did this in the cohort 2, and it was quite useful because we go around, we walk to each one, and we write down what we believe are the answers. And so it worked quite well because it just helped the cohort kind of understand where you are. So we're going to start doing that now. And then once we've done that, I'm going to start asking other questions to you, and because I've also got my own questions. These are something. This is what Joyce, Christine have worked on in the past and suggested we do it this time around. So we'll do that. And then we're going to we'll refine the topic after that. Okay, great. So let's start. I'm just going to get my book out. And also, I think what I wanted to mention as well, and I'm actually going to be presenting on this on Wednesday, is so often when we operate and we work as a team, we do things automatically. We just keep doing the same things without actually questioning it and looking at, and like Lindy was saying, let's look at, is there a third way? You know, and I really like the way she presented that. And so the main emphasis of coaching is to be able to understand, we call it subject, so it's here in your head that you automatically do all the time. It's like an automatic thing because you're so used to doing things in a certain way that it becomes a subject. So what we do in coaching is we allow you to make it an object. We allow you to look at yourselves as your team, how you're working, and observe yourselves. And that's why we always start off with a self-observation exercise. We observe yourself and think, oh, okay, I didn't realize I was doing it that way. Maybe there is another way of doing it. So that's the whole purpose of what we're trying to do. The main purpose of the coaching is to look at different perspectives and looking, as you say, what is a new way of being, and what are the capabilities we need to get there. Okay. Good. All right. So I'm going to grab. I need to find out which is the first question, and I hope they've marked them. Oh yes, they have. Okay. So that's number 7. So we're going to go there. Right. All right. So I think it's better if we all stand up, and then we're just going to go from one page to the next. And then we're going to write them down. I'm going to take these back to my room later. So the first one is, what are 3 core values that define your organization's culture? Oh, and also the other thing I wanted to emphasize as well, is just reminding the organization, is that I think what's important for this cohort and what's been brought out of the stakeholders and organization is that we want to focus on, with your topic, how is it going to impact the organization? So that's an important thing. Whereas in cohort 1 and 2, it was more about the leadership team. This is also about the leadership team. And you know, Joyce brought out the individual as well. But, so it's individual, team, and organization. But we need to think about, okay, if we do this topic and work on the topic, how's it going to impact the organization as a whole? So what are the 3 core values that define our organization's culture? Can you share specific examples of how these values are demonstrated in practice? Would anybody like to, do you want to maybe, because it's 3 core values, and I saw, by the way, I got a printout of that survey that you did, so I saw that, I just wanted to get it because you actually listed your core values there. And I want to go into this. Sometimes one of my ways of being, I need to slow down sometimes. I just also don't want to go through this too quickly. So you wrote in your shared values, you said teamwork, integrity, excellence, inclusiveness, volunteerism, and trust. And when I read that out to you now, how does it land with you?
There was no inclusiveness.
Yes, inclusiveness. So teamwork, integrity, excellence, inclusiveness, volunteerism, and trust. So part of your organizational culture, which this is what I got from Peter, the shared values of the organization are clearly defined and consistently recognized across responses from team members, reflecting common understanding of the values and what they represent. So those were the main values that came out. And so of those, do you still think that those are the core values?
Trust.
I think trust is not reflected on the ground as a value.
Okay.
Can be maybe practice.
It can be practice.
We're using the first 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So of those 5, what do you think the 3 core values are that define your organization culture?
Inclusiveness.
Okay.
Yeah. It's also in our name.
It's also in the name.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the other one could be excellence.
Does everyone agree?
But we
Yes.
can agree with.
Maybe
Because
we should give room for justification.
why do we say that?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
will say that.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
We can start with that.
You can,
We
you
can
can
start
start
with
with inclusiveness.
Yeah.
Why are we thinking is the most?
And how it defines the organization
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
So, FICH has always given opportunity to everyone to learn, even irrespective of the qualifications sometimes. We are rural-based, and we are focusing on building the community. So we have opportunities to invite people to come and learn, use our internet to search and learn, and even the lowly qualified is given opportunity of placement so that they're able to learn and exercise their potential. So even our work areas is in covering the youth, the women. The youth here we mean men and women, and then the women we have farmers, then the young children. So somehow it is inclusive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you don't discriminate.
Yeah. So even it's where the name origin came from, Foundation for Inclusive Community Help. So we are building foundation to inclusively help that community
Wonderful.
in the various
Beautiful.
areas of work. Yeah.
Oh, well, I understand now why that's a core value. Thanks for explaining that.
Unless there is any other team member who has to supplement on that inclusiveness.
No, but
Something
you
small.
were able to tackle the target population, the beneficiary. Then you also handle the staffing.
Different groups.
And, yeah, maybe when it comes to the approach and strategies that we use as FICH, we tend to engage so many stakeholders, not only one, in ensuring that we are able to succeed, because we realize that those stakeholders are really the engine to our successful implementation. So we tend to so much engage the community, the local leaders, the district leaders, so many people around, so that they're able to give their opinion, they're able to be part and parcel of the intervention.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like you're already doing a lot
Sure.
of engaging stakeholders already.
We invite them usually at the inception of every project.
Wow.
Yeah, to
Okay,
see
that's
their
brilliant.
tie-in and their ideas.
Gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And it's so true what she was saying, is that we often make assumptions that a particular project is going to work, but without finding out if that, like I love the example of Ethiopia and the nomadic tribe, and that's like a clear example of finding out what is needed, really. Yeah. Awesome. Did you want to say something, Eunice?
No, I think Patrick has said it.
Okay.
Yeah, because we believe in working with different diversity, people
Yes.
sharing ideas.
Okay.
to a common goal.
Great. That's awesome. No, so inclusivity is definitely a core value, and you've given examples of how this is demonstrated in practice. All right. Is there anything else that you think is core?
Okay, I wanted to discuss with my team
Yes.
that out of the 5, we already have one highlighted here.
Yeah.
And of course, it's reflecting on the, in terms of hierarchy, I really think think that we let teamwork come immediately.
Yeah.
So that now we move on to make a decision on the third one.
That one,
Out
yeah.
of the three that will be remaining.
Yes.
All right. So you're saying teamwork as
Yeah.
a second one. All right. And can you give me, would anybody like to give me an example of how this is done? Eunice, would you like to give me an example of how this is demonstrated, or Victoria?
I think okay, let me just start by giving a background of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
In the organization, we have two target areas that we work in, which is livelihood and education.
What was the first one?
Livelihood.
Livelihood.
Yes,
Okay.
and education.
Okay.
So within these two targets that we operate in, there are different team members that operate in the different sections of livelihood and education.
Okay.
But it's hard for you, especially when there is a major activity, to know which team member is in which department.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because we all put our heads together to
Right.
ensure that what we are working on at that moment is achieved. Whether you're in livelihood department or whether you're in the education department, everybody comes together, especially when there is a major activity to implement, to make sure that we achieve the common goal. And also within each of the departments, it's not easy for you to know who is the boss
Okay.
and who is the subject or who is the junior,
Right.
because we make sure that we distribute responsibilities equally, to the extent that it is hard for you to know who is supervising who. It's only when you see somebody coming to consult the other,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you know that this person, I think, is the team lead or something. So we
Mhm.
believe that everybody at least has something that they bring on the table.
Okay.
And it's really good to give equal responsibility, so that even if the other person is weak from the other side, they can be pulled up by this person from this side,
Okay.
because all our heads are together.
Okay, I understand. Okay. I'm going to grab a pen because I just want to write some points down.
Yeah.
So, livelihood and education. So, from what I'm hearing you saying, is that you don't necessarily assign roles when you put people in a project you're working on. You're saying that, are you saying that there's no one leader, that everyone goes in as equals? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, but that is after clearly defining the objective of what we are supposed to be working on,
Okay.
and making sure that everybody understands the strategy of what we are going to do, and then we can now distribute roles equally. And
Okay.
majorly when there is a major activity to be implemented. But of course there are those small tasks that we usually do that we specify or we specialize in. But usually when there is something major that we are all supposed to participate in, we make sure that first everybody understands the goals and objectives, and then the strategies of how to achieve what we want to work on, and then we can dive in the job.
Okay.
I can supplement by giving an example of an activity. Like we usually train girls on life skills.
Okay.
So, and it is in an event called the boot camp.
Okay.
So during the term holidays. So when there is a boot camp, there will be a departmental leader,
Mm-hmm.
but then she will convene all the staff members and then lay down all the activities we are going to be doing in the boot camp, and
Mhm.
then divide the roles according to what someone does best.
Okay.
So, and then everyone has something to do.
I understand.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
how we
awesome.
define the teamwork nature
Yeah.
there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But also there is a disclaimer, yeah, because we are saying this based on how we understand teamwork. But like the previous facilitator, what's her name? The one who was online. Linde.
Yeah.
Like she was saying, yes, there is always room for improvement. But what we are telling you right now is based on what we do as a team
Yes.
and how we understand teamwork.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
So I think what we're going to do once we go through everything, we're going to look at what do you think is your biggest challenge that you're facing. That's going to define your topic.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's quite a difficult one to define one topic. But you'll see as we go through, things will become clearer. Yeah. Do you know?
Maybe another
Yes.
disclaimer before you leave. Another disclaimer. When Victoria spoke and you were asking that question in terms of the capability of leadership, yes, the leadership is there at all levels. But when it comes to the actual execution of activities, that is when she was saying you may not know that so and so is a supervisor of the other one.
Okay, I
When it comes to
understand.
the actual implementation of activities, everybody is equally
Okay, I
engaged,
understand.
but the leadership is there at all levels.
Okay, got it.
Like they have said it, at the organization, we support each other to accomplish certain task.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so that another aspect of the teamwork. Yeah.
I think that's a very great summary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So support is important, to know that you are supported. Yeah. And your contribution is valued. Yeah.
And a typical example is that we, as at organization, we have a departmental meetings. Let's say livelihood department is having a meeting today, but we always ask people from other departments to attend,
Yes.
so that they are able to have a cross learning and knowledge about
Yes.
whatever takes place within the organization. Because what is happening in livelihood and education, they all move to fulfill the strategic objective of the organization.
Yes.
So that's why we expect to have that cross learning by making other people from staff from other departments to also be attending
Yeah, fantastic.
meeting of other departments, so that they have a full knowledge of what takes place in other departments, so that when it comes to activities, just like you were saying, they're able to actively participate.
And what that has helped is that if you find anybody within the organization, any staff, and you ask them about which projects are going on in the organization, what program areas are, you just ask them generally to tell you what is happening within the organization. Somebody from the livelihood department will be able to make you understand what is happening in the education department, and you'll be convinced, because we all participate in all programs equally and make sure that everybody is in the same page.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, I mean, that's amazing examples of teamwork. Yeah.
So maybe bringing teamwork from an external perspective, we also collaborate with other implementing partners who are doing the same, who are working or implementing the same activities like us. For example, like the local governments, if we have implementing partners who are in education, when there is a stakeholders meeting, we join them to share ideas and learnings. And then also FICH has partnered with us, so many civil society organizations doing the same work. So even under the umbrella, we work together with some partners in education. So I don't know if that teamwork is reflected from an external perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I wanted to
Yeah,
add.
because I think it's yeah, if you want to grab chairs,
Okay,
I think it's a mindset of that teamwork, bringing all the voices in, including the voices. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I just wanted to supplement something. I think teamwork comes naturally because of the programming aspect. The programming aspect I'm speaking here, you find that though we have two different departments, that's livelihood and education, you realize that we are working with children in foundational learning. And these are children from the lower grade
Yes.
of education. But then, because of the programming, we cannot work with children without involving the parents. And when we go deeper to find out why are they not supporting their children,
Mm-hmm.
they're talking about the issue of economic things,
Mm-hmm.
like economic challenges. Now, the livelihood comes in to support these families with the issues of generating income or nutrition so that they can be able to support the children education.
Mm-hmm.
So you realize that the programming around the two is just like one thing, because you are working on one to supplement the other component of the programming to move forward. So in that way, within the team, you realize that education cannot run alone without the team from livelihood department. So by default, they have to come and join us
Join up.
and work together.
Yeah.
So I think the teamwork is showing up
Mm.
because of that programming aspect of the program.
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely part of your culture. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and the third one?
Okay. The third one, I personally, I'm just going. Maybe you can first wait.
Do you want me to repeat?
No, we know it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was speaking of. You were saying. Okay, you can talk about that. I was in another perspective, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe Jules, don't write this one. We can first discuss.
No,
together.
of course. Take your time.
Yeah, Candy has a different one, but personally, I was thinking maybe excellence. The reason why I was speaking about this is as something which is I'm very passionate about as a person. Actually, you know it. So I think FICH also believes in everyone's ability, every team member's ability to perform to their expectations, because each of us have different abilities, and that's how we know we are best in that area. So FICH tried to provide that opportunity to individuals to perform the roles based on their best ability. And then and always we try to encourage that the team members need, actually going back to what Jesus was talking about if you're working, you don't need to work for money, but you're working for a common goal, and we are connectors. So if you work and your mindset is based on doing to the best of your ability, that is something we love. And how do we show up that within the team or within the organization as a culture? So we as a team, we develop a culture of learning among ourselves. Even if if the problem is around report writing, so we collectively discussed what are the issues, and then we assign individuals within the organization to lead the session on report writing.
Okay.
So we are providing the opportunity for that person, one, to do more research so that they can become excellent.
Okay, so even if they haven't had experience in it,
Exactly.
you still give them that responsibility.
Exactly.
Because you want them. Okay.
It's because we want the person to have some intentional time and moment to do more research and ask colleagues on what he or she is supposed to facilitate.
Okay.
So it's like a learning session
Yeah.
within the organization.
Okay.
And then the second one is to help the person become more confident in terms of facilitation. So what we try to do is, because we are trying to make sure that the person is excellent in the area of, we also try to...
So in other words, you're trusting.
Yeah, we're trusting.
You're trusting. That
Exactly.
takes a lot of trust.
It takes some trust, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So we are trusting, but also we are trying to have the ability to make sure that he or she has the capacity, not just sitting. It's like the empowerment process. So in that way, during the session, we provide a feedback on how the facilitation has happened, looking at the techniques, looking at the confidence, looking at the eloquency in terms of content, so the person can learn from that process. So because the whole game here is to make sure that each of us are excellent in some aspect of...
Okay, I understand. Great, thank you, Amy. And does anybody... So you're saying you'd like that to be... You suggesting that as a third value? Or you...
I'm suggesting, but I think team members also have
other
other
ways
thoughts.
from.
Yeah, we want to hear from everyone, obviously, how, you might have a different perspective for the third, because these are the third core values.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we believe in excellence, but it's still a work in progress.
Yes.
In my thinking, I think we are yet to reach there. Yeah, it's a work in progress. That's why we are providing opportunity to so many people to exercise their potential and then work to their best.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I understand that,
What
yeah.
other people?
I mean, maybe excellent doesn't have to be the word, we could think of something else if it comes up.
You're also right, by the way.
So do you agree with, Patrick, do you agree with excellence? Victoria and Eunice?
You know, these are all, but when it comes to now core, and to get the 3 out of 5, that is what is generating this kind of discussion. I tend to move for voluntarism.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
And the reason is FICH as an organization came from far, and the team who has been at FICH have been working not for the benefit that they get, but they have been like volunteers at the organization.
So it's a mindset.
Because what they have been getting since the time the organization started, it has not been something that really hopefully facilitate
Okay.
their function. And what they have been doing is to sacrifice themselves, sacrifice their time, which is what we are calling it volunteering, and
Okay.
ensuring that the organization is able to move forward. I want to believe that since from the time FICH started, and at this particular time we have to compare, yes, there is progress in terms of how can staff be facilitated, but still is not to the standard if you have to do your assessment. But staff are working, they are committed, and they are doing what is expected of them.
Commitment.
That is
commitment could
commitment,
be
yes,
a value.
commitment. And that's why I tend to value so much voluntarism as core,
Okay.
because that is something that has been pushing the team.
Commitment. Sounds to me like commitment.
Commitment is something that has been pushing the team, but not necessarily what comes up, what comes out of what you do in the
Okay.
organization.
Can I just add something? I think that I would also agree with these two. Let me just speak from what Amy was saying about us constantly giving room for people to keep learning.
Keep learning, yeah.
Yes, so that they can become great at what they do. But for me, excellence as the word itself,
Yes.
this is honestly from me,
Yeah.
put some kind of pressure in me.
I understand.
Yeah, that would require me to go over and above what I'm supposed to do, which sometimes at that moment I am unable to do it.
I
I am
understand.
unable to go over and above that. So the word alone puts that kind of pressure on me. And like I was trying to explain that we can give you a topic and then ensure that you research and deliver it to us. And you said, you responded that takes a lot of trust. You saw me smiling. Yes, that takes a lot of trust, but it also puts a lot of pressure on me as the person who was given the task. Because now, sometimes I feel like the word does not allow me to make mistakes.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah,
That's such a good point you make.
Yeah, and I want to be in a space where I know that even if I make mistakes, I will be given room to learn and appreciated for the effort that I made. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe excellence, we can play on a different word then. What about commitment and excellence?
So, Jules, are we supposed to use the very terms that has been provided
No.
that right up?
No,
Okay.
no, not at all. You don't have to use the same term. And we don't have to get too bogged down on this.
Yeah.
Because we've got all these to get through.
Yeah.
We don't have to get too bogged down on it. So it's just, it doesn't have to be excellent. Excellent. It doesn't have to be perfect.
I see.
But I'm getting the
also
feeling-
continuous learning,
Okay.
either continuous learning or commitment. But there is a lot of learning opportunities
Okay.
in our organization.
All right.
Every
So do
opportunity
you want to make
learning and exposure.
continuous learning?
As a value.
Knowledge.
She's saying that we use the very same value languages in our documents.
I think we can also have time to keep reflecting later.
Sure.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
mean that we should change.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
It's evolving.
it's evolving.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it is.
Exactly. So what I've heard from both sides is that you are committed to this because you're able to sacrifice your time and your effort because you believe in it. You have a strong belief in the mission, but at the same time you're also encouraged for continuous learning, and that you're given that opportunity to prove yourself. But you don't want to be. You still want to be able to do that opportunity, but not without feeling like you're going to make a mistake. So and it doesn't have to be one word. It can be something and something as the third value. So if you want to make it as committed to continuous learning, or we could do 4. We could do committed and continuous learning. It doesn't have to be 3.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I think,
Okay.
yeah.
So should we do 4?
Mm.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, should we move on to the next one?
Okay, that was so exhaustive.
You keep learning every time when you speak about it.
All right, so what are the primary goals and strategic objectives your organization is aiming to achieve? Okay, that's 2024. That's a mistake.
It's okay.
So you see, it's hard to make mistakes.
No, it's okay.
Or it's okay.
Yes, you can.
I should use a pen.
You need a
You should
pen.
use a pen. We are so tall.
That's a blessing.
Okay, so primary goals and strategic objectives. So we are already in end of April. So I don't know what is your year, financial year?
It's January to December. It's a calendar year.
Yeah, calendar year. So you really, I suppose you can only think from now until the end of the year. But is there anything that comes to mind on that? So you mentioned, is there anything,
Rate evidence from the grassroots, whatever we do, and then we have level of different engagement with stakeholders who could be holding power to make sure that the changes we want happens. For example, if we, like for example in education, we are working with schools to enhance the learning of children in learning in other learning outcomes. One of the goals is to generate data, available data within the school, but also through what we are trying to do in the implementations, and show that evidence to maybe parents, maybe school teachers.
Do you want to put that down as one of your goals then?
Yes, and then the districts, so that the conversation starts and things should change. Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to just summarize that in a sentence?
Yeah, so using existing data to generate discussion, to generate or to advocate.
To generate evidence for advocacy
Okay.
and policy. Policy, what you were saying? Policy
Influencing.
something? Policy influencing, yes.
From the grassroots.
Evidence from?
Okay. Advocate evidence.
To generate
Use
evidence
existing
for
data.
advocacy. Evidence for advocacy
Advocacy.
and policy influence.
grassroots to national, something like that.
From communities?
Yeah, from grassroots to community. Because
Grassroots to
to national.
national, yeah.
Yeah, because out of this discussion at the community, we want the government to scale some of the best practices.
Yes.
So these are the evidence that we want to
Show them, yeah.
show them that it's working in a small context, and this is how it's working.
Yeah.
So how about if you can put or use the existing policy to improve how it is playing around, how it's being implemented.
I mean, that's a really prime example of the work that you're doing that's going to affect the organization, that's going to affect the communities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because here it's also looking at systemic change
Yeah.
from the grassroots, but also to the national level.
Okay, I'm just going to put here system change. From grassroots to national. Okay. All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to achieve or focus on that stands out that you'd like? But I mean, that's quite a lot to achieve, and for the rest of the, I mean, it could just be that because that's quite a lot to do in 2025. So, but if there's anything else that's really you would like to focus in on for the rest of the year as a goal, otherwise we can just leave it as that.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe a team we could look
And
at
also
it.
just to remind you, this is obviously taking into like you've done here, you're taking into consideration the overall organisation and how this is going to affect the communities.
Yeah.
So always focus, not just your leadership team goals,
But
but
the
yeah.
organization. I don't know whether this could be a goal or but the team can help think through. Just because if we are talking about, for example, using the existing data or generating the data to help get the advocacy happening, we also need to have a very strategic partnership
Yes.
for that to happen. So our goal would be building strategic partnership with key stakeholders.
Can I write that?
Yes, you can do that. Building a strong partnership with the key stakeholders from different levels to ensure that we have that system change. For example, at the grassroots, we can meet with the local structures, the leadership structures.
So building a strong partnership with stakeholders.
With key stakeholders.
Okay.
And these are stakeholders in line with what we do.
Yes, in line with what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And get their buy-in to support.
Okay.
Because, for example, if you are talking about the partnership with the donors, you need them to see the impact that the intervention would cause, and then they're able to provide resources. When you're talking about school leadership, you want them to understand that school data is very important when you invest the capacity of the teachers to understand. The teachers will be able to engage parents successfully.
Correct.
So,
that buy-in is very important.
yeah, so that now, that school leadership start having, I think we need to accept and build the capacity of the teachers on how, for example, even interpreting the assessment that the teachers give termly. How do you use that assessment result to engage the teachers so that children can perform well? Because if the issue is midday meal for learners,
Yeah.
and parents are not able to provide,
Yes.
and how does that affect the learning of the child?
Yes.
So is the teachers able to demonstrate this capacity to engage and
Yes.
showing the parents that this is the issue?
Yes.
So can you come in and play your role,
For
and
sure.
we are playing our role?
For sure.
But the issue is the teachers are not having the capacity to interpret.
Well, that's a challenge.
It's a big challenge.
It's a big challenge.
Yeah. So for our main target is to build that partnership with the school leadership to understand this concept, and then teachers as well, so that they can start buying in and then start doing some action. Even the parents the same.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you happy with that?
Sure.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Well done. All right. Okay.
Oh, it's
The
done.
numbering.
No problem.
No,
I didn't do this.
that was intentional.
What is the core mission of your organization? Okay, I think it's and how is it reflected in your daily operations? So, I mean, from what I understand, what I think, what it looks like, what's come out of this organization vision for the future. Overall, the leadership team shares a unified vision of building vibrant, resilient communities where individuals and families, especially youth and women, can reach their full potential through access to opportunities and supportive systems. This demonstrates common understanding of the vision. All team members also reported that the strategic goals of the organization are clearly communicated. So it sounds like your mission is to build vibrant and resilient communities, but I could be completely wrong.
No, I just want to get back to the numbering. It was correct as one. Because the only challenge was in the position.
Oh yes, you're right.
This is.
Oh my
this is
goodness,
one.
so I was just following it along. So the mission, you're right. So okay, so we actually so we went wrong way around.
Because,
I think
yeah,
it's
this is
okay.
1, 2.
But it's
Only
okay.
form that, like that.
Thank you for pointing that out. So that was actually 1.
Mm.
We started with 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So, if to summarize that, I think the mission is around, first of all, to provide trainings to the people that we work with, education, which probably could be,
Can I just write so long?
yeah,
And we can always refine it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
3 key points: training, when we talk about education, and then providing opportunities. And opportunities here, like it was described earlier, in the values. Looking at the people we work with, them, if there's opportunity, and because we have that intentional opportunity for giving people knowledge, let them be inclusive in
No matter what their
programming.
qualification.
Yeah, so if opportunity comes around that area, can we give them to go and have? So it's something that,
Can I put equal opportunity?
yeah, equal opportunities. So the mission is around those
Yeah.
3 aspects.
All right, fantastic.
And this is to our working population, the youth, the women and families.
Okay. All right, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Maybe just to help you, maybe in the documentation, what we have raised, we seem to be responding to the how. How? But just to help you in documentation, what is exactly our mission? So that now this, whatever you have written here, we've been now responding to how.
It's reflected.
Yes.
Yeah, this is how it's reflected
In your
the
daily
operation.
operations.
But what's the mission statement?
This is to transform youth.
To transform youth, women and families through training, education, and equal opportunities.
In a thriving community.
So do you want to change it to transform
For
youth?
women and families. Through providing training, education, and equal opportunities. In thriving communities.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly, we have responded to
So-
the mission, and now
How it's reflected in the
education.
yeah.
And then that follows, that would have followed objectives and then their core values.
Yeah. So how it's reflected in daily operations, we do a lot of training is one of our core activities, like capacity building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's part of your daily.
When talk of life skills training, when talk of
Youth,
foundational learning trainings,
youth leadership program.
yeah, youth leadership training programs. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, this is 6. So we're looking for
4 should go on the board.
Okay. We can put it down. What did you say?
Exemplary. Maybe I can expand on that. Yeah, so if it comes, I will relate it to our values. In our organization, you should be an exemplary leader who observes those values in daily operations of work, exercises those
aware.
values.
And aware.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning.
So being aware of the impact and being aware of what you're doing to reach your mission and your goals.
Yeah.
You can talk of the respect. Respect really important. Respect in order for you to be respected. Yeah, you must respect yourself to get that.
So respect for yourself and others.
In order for the rest also to respect you.
Can we talk about empathy as well?
I think for me, what could define a successful leader is a person who have the capacity and ability to communicate clearly to others.
Communication, clear communication.
A clear communication. Because sometimes when you talk about setting goals and you're supervising someone, and probably you have no idea on how to help the person successfully complete the task. If you don't communicate that clearly, then probably it is not a very successful leadership.
True.
Yeah.
Communication is key.
Yeah.
Then I think that we so honest.
Honest?
Yeah. And transparent.
Great.
Say something.
You say it.
I think also another thing for me is passion. Passion for the things that we do and for the people that we work for. Yeah, because it's normal for anybody to say they have a job, they are working, but it takes something else for you to do something that is extraordinary. And that something else for me is passion. Because like the values we were talking about the other side, the values of teamwork, integrity, voluntarism, if you don't have the passion to do the things that you do and for the people that you do these things for, it may be hard for you to exhibit those values. So for me, a good leader is one that has passion for the things that they do and for the people that they do the things for.
Okay.
Yeah. You say passion and commitment.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's passion.
Yeah, we can put passion down.
Yeah.
We can change it. I mean, maybe passion with a clear vision.
You're right.
timekeeper also. A successful leader should be on time in everything.
Bring back the excellence and put pressure.
Then I don't know whether we can also have the aspect of a good leader should be inclusive. And what do I mean? As a leader, you will be working with people from different backgrounds, whether educationally, socially, economically, and all those others. But of course, now as a leader, you should be very, very inclusive in how you deal with the diverse people within the organization. And that is the only way you can be able now to bring them together, regardless of their different.
So understanding different perspectives.
Okay, inclusive or accommodative?
Okay. Yeah. Inclusive of,
Maybe they can be two different ones, is it?
what did I say?
Inclusive.
I said, yeah, at a different, understanding different perspectives. So maybe you could say inclusive by understanding different perspectives, or we could just put inclusive. Inclusive mindset and the ability to understand different perspectives.
That's true.
Because that, do you remember she spoke about this getting away from the ego, and that entails being humble enough to understand people's different perspectives. Yeah. Okay. Everyone happy with that?
Being accountable.
Okay, let's say it out
Accountability.
loud.
Let's say space.
Accountability is very correct.
What did you say?
That a good leader should be accountable.
Leader should be accountable.
To their actions, decisions.
That's true.
In fact, that is a very big and
She talked
Can
about
be values.
accommodative.
It can also be values.
Yeah, accountability.
As a leader, you will be taking action and decisions, but you should be accountable of the action and decisions you take.
Yeah,
That
of
is
course.
very scary.
So how does your current organizational structure align with and support your mission goals and strategic directions? So your current structure, so your inclusiveness that you spoke about here, your values are teamwork, inclusiveness, committed continuous learning, and your mission to transform youth, women and families through providing training, education and equal opportunities. So how does your current structure align with that?
Organizational structure here, we mean the leadership structure, the hierarchy.
Yeah, I think just this current structure that you have in your organization. So
Maybe I can say something about what I understand. So structurally, like I was explaining the other side, that we have two sections in the department, which is livelihood and education.
yes.
And when you look at our mission, is we want to transform the youth, women and families. And we say we want to do this through providing opportunities, through trainings, through education. And for me, these two areas cover wholly our value.
Yes.
And then the other one is, if you look at the staffing as well, the staffing is very diverse. That also covers these two.
Can I put that down? Diverse staffing.
That also covers the areas, the two areas that fully cover our mission.
Yes.
Yeah, because the composition of our staff is that we have people that are experts in the areas of livelihood, we have people, okay, I don't mean that experts,
Yes.
yeah, but people who have
Have
experience,
Yes, okay.
have experience in the two areas that I have mentioned in livelihood and education, and people who have passion for the two areas. So that is what I understood
No, that's, I'm going to
when
put
you
down,
talked about organizational structure.
can I put experienced staff
Mm-hmm.
in the two, what do you
Program areas.
program areas?
Of livelihood and education.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe something that I can add later is that our current organizational structure provide for a series of levels of staffing, and because of that series of level, we are able to be responsible in whatever we do at the different level.
Okay.
For instance, and that also helps in accountability and being responsible in terms of what we do. And the current structure also provide that opportunity for us to be able to get into details of what we do, because the structure provides for the management at the top level, of course, the board, from the board coming to the management, and the management coming to the departmental leadership, and to down to the field staff and to the community themselves. So that long
Sure.
structure provides an opportunity for us to have a clear way of learning, because all those stages or level, in whatever we do, there is a learning.
Okay, so it sounds like equal opportunity for learning within the structure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I don't know what this could also feel in us, right? Looking at the staffing, somehow, to some great extent, percentage of the team are people who have experienced the program. Like I'm talking about some of the percentage of the team who are in the staffing are formerly beneficiaries of the program,
Yes.
of the organization.
Yeah.
So when they come, also they work with the mindset that whatever the organization has provided to me, I also need to give it back to the community.
Okay.
So those are the kind of also, I think that is what formed the other value of volunteering, volunteerism, which actually is around commitment, and then so that is also another aspect of the staff that provide that opportunity.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Can anyone, my watch has stopped. Can anyone give me the time?
First
So
look
just
at
see
the
where we are with time.
What's the time?
It's now 15 past 3.
Okay, so we've gotten about 45
1
minutes.
hour.
1 hour.
1 yard. They said 4:15, but I would like you to have a little bit of a longer tea break
Okay.
for you,
Okay.
because we spoke yesterday. Maybe we should stop at 4. But let's see how we go. If we need the extra 15 minutes,
Okay.
let's just say an hour. So that's good. So we've got 2 more to go. So that's fine. I think we'll cover that then.
Yeah.
Because
Maybe
we-
for here, just addition, because of our goal of generating evidence, we have 2 cross-cutting departments, the communication department and monitoring, evaluation and learning departments, which are continuously documenting the learnings, and then the monitoring, evaluation and learning department is also documenting the progress made
Okay.
and also evaluating them.
Okay, that's a good
I don't know
point.
how we can explain that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So there's structures in place to fully document
Mm-hmm.
evidence
And
to support.
track progress.
Okay. Structure is aligned with to fully document. You want to say evidence? Fully document monitoring and monitoring is
I
mentioned.
think general that should be documenting evidence and lessons learned.
And fully documenting evidence.
Okay.
Monitoring progress and sharing learnings.
Excellent. To fully document evidence and monitoring of progress and sharing learning.
Okay, the work we are doing.
Yeah, awesome.
That's a good structure.
Awesome. All right, so number 6, reflecting on the past year, what would you identify your key strengths? So, would you mind if I read out
Yeah.
what came up here? So it seems like you give feedback to each other, you show appreciation of members. Okay, that was something else. Appreciation of values. The leaders demonstrate a good level of clarity on how the organization values are applied in day-to-day work. Key behaviors include teamwork and collaboration, supporting colleagues, sharing ideas, engaging in collaborative problem solving, inclusiveness and team spirit, regular team self-care activities, and learning cafes that foster belonging and professional growth, excellence, quality checks by dedicated officers to ensure high standards of work, and then what it takes to fit in a leadership team. Responses show one must embrace a culture of inclusiveness, openness, and shared responsibility. Team values clear empathetic communication and views conflict as a natural part of growth. Integrity and mutual trust allow team members to work with minimal supervision, guided by a shared vision and mission. So these are just some of the strengths that I documented. What, yeah.
One of it is here also documentation.
So would you say one of your strengths is
Documentation.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
In here, I mean, we write reports on what we have done.
Mm-hmm.
We
Share.
share articles on
You
social
share,
media.
yeah. It seems like you, as you say, you have a very good relationship with stakeholders.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good one. I was actually going to speak about that because
And even the community we work with. Those are stakeholders.
Okay, yeah.
yeah, just to strengthen that, I was also going to speak on that because if you look at current way of engagement with different stakeholders, with the government stakeholders, they're also learning from what we are trying to do. From the other aspect, like from the donor community, they're willing to continue learning the impact that we are causing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and willing to collaborate. I think that's a great strength, a great opportunity for us. So it means that within the organization, we are doing things and others are seeing and feeling that I think they need to partner. They need to work together. So it actually is about a good relationship with stakeholders.
Okay.
That's what is causing the good relationship.
Oh, okay.
So I think I'm just validating that.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Maybe the other thing in terms of our past strength as an organization has been having the committed staff. that has been in areas of one, being committed in the source mobilization, to the extent that within the year we were able to have funding arising from our staff that are committed in writing proposal and all those sort of things.
And maintaining one donor for a long period of time.
Partnership, is it?
I think partnership. I think
Is it
because
a
of the
relationship?
committee, okay. It could be
So it's partnership sustainability.
exactly.
Okay.
For example, we have one partner that's is stuck with FICH and they are no longer yet even to go away. GFC.
Oh,
They're the first donor to
First,
FICH,
yeah.
but right now it's still they are working with FICH.
over 10 years now.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I think that's a very good.
Yeah, that's a very good strength.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another one, we've been working closely with our colleagues, either participants or program helping
Beneficiaries.
program beneficiaries.
Mm-hmm.
We are close, which we may find reaching them easy, not like struggling to get there.
I think what she means is the location of our organization. Is that so?
Yeah.
The proximity to
The place we work with. I mean,
So in other words, you're in close contact with the beneficiaries in terms of the area that you're in.
Yes.
the office itself is in the rural place,
Okay.
which makes the community we work
And
with
engagement
feel,
is easier.
Strategic location.
feel we are
Please
part,
change this one.
they are part of us and we are part of them.
Yeah, okay.
Because we are not in any trading
So
center,
it's
we are
not
not
like
in any
you're
town.
far away and, you know,
Rural, grassroots based, I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell me.
And the office is in the village.
Actually, where we work is where the office is.
yeah, that's amazing.
And that is the big office, the main office.
Yeah, that's our headquarters.
And I think that is why
Easy accessibility.
I think that is why we have a very good relationship with other stakeholders like the government, because they feel that we are not these organizations that are based in town
Yes.
and then they go and work in the village where they spend a lot of
Exactly.
resources in the process.
That's a huge strength, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to give my reflection. It's just a reflection on this. The fact that where is the point going again?
Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay. We can take a after we do this last one, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
The fact that we have opportunity for learning and growth as staff, not as a whole organization, but as individual staff. I feel like we have always been provided with opportunity to learn and to grow, because and I feel like this has always been very intentional of the leadership to make sure that everybody learns and grow in their different departments. Earlier on, Amy was trying to explain about one of our systems, which is Learning Cafe. One of the things we do, which is Learning Cafe, where a staff is tasked to get a topic and deliver it to everybody, so that even the person who is delivering is learning, even the people that the topic is being delivered to are also learning. And then intentionally over time, I have always seen him source for opportunities for the staff to learn. Like for us to participate in this collective rising initiative, I think that it was a deliberate opportunity something that he kept pushing for the staff to participate.
Okay, great.
And I think that is one thing that for me I cannot underestimate, because for an organization to keep pushing forward, there has to be that opportunity to continuously make errors and also learn from those.
Can I
How do we
hear
make it to
all
the
in
network?
structure
Yeah?
alignment?
The network. What Victoria has said, the availability of
Sorry, just to go back to Victoria, so you're saying the key strength for the last, so this is the last year, the past year, is you saying the key strength is that you were given the opportunity for learning. Did you say?
Yes, that's it.
And that's,
Okay.
and that in the years has caused high staff retention or motivation, something like that.
Okay, which increases motivation.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well done. Last one. We can take a 5-minute break.
We are just, excuse me,
Yeah.
we are learning here.
Yeah.
I want to make a quick reflection on what Victoria just said. I am thinking as if the opportunity for learning is a result of something.
Result of?
Some is a result of which is a result of what I was saying, the availability of networks that FICH has is what has created or given us the chance to have this kind of work opportunity. Why we are here, it is because of the network that FICH
That believes in.
yes. So I'm seeing this as a result of the network. It's a network that brought in the opportunity. That is how I was looking at it.
I think we can have network as a point of its own, because opportunity for learning here, what I am saying is beyond the network. Or even before we started the network,
It's
what were we
coming to
doing?
be a culture somehow.
Yeah, it's almost like a culture, because it's something that we started doing even on our own to even get to the networks, or to even get to the ability to network with people who are already doing something to help us continue learning, so that we can
Okay.
face the networks that we want to approach.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had trainings on fundraising, local fundraising, and internally we usually have learning cafes where we have those different topics. Internally we usually have reflections. We sit together and do reflections about our own areas of weaknesses and strength to help us go forward, to
Yes.
go and face the networks.
Okay. Okay.
So in other words, maybe to talk to him, to comment on what he has said, could be maybe trust from the partners is a strength, because if they were not trusting FICH, those opportunities were not going to come up. They were not going to show up.
That's a good point.
So basically, maybe
Trusting
our
in your
strength-
ability as
Exactly.
yeah,
yeah. So that
which
could be
opens up the
the
opportunities. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I am still battling with the opportunity. What you said is correct, which
So-
is the trust, is either the trust
Yeah.
that resulted into the opportunity.
Okay, so we can say here, trust in each by partnerships has resulted in creating opportunities for learning, which increases our motivation. You happy? Okay. Let's just see this last one, because we don't actually have to do all 7, but let's just see what this last one is. Okay, this is quite important stuff.
This is the serious one.
This is a serious one.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is probably going to inform possibly the topic, parts of the topic. So what areas present the greatest opportunities for growth and improvement moving forward? So the areas for growth. So, yeah, does everyone understand that?
I would loosely call it weaknesses.
Okay.
Areas of improvement.
Okay. Any ideas? Please grab a chair.
Oh,
to
sure.
Sit down.
Let's move to this side.
Yeah.
For me, I'm okay with standing.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You're happy.
I think that the question is actually two in one. The present strength that we have, that we should be able to with the region and maybe either continue with it or grow ourselves more in it. But also the second aspect is what Victoria said in terms of our weakness. What weakness do we have and what can we do about it? Because what areas present the greatest opportunities for growth? That is one. Then improvement in the areas that we really think we are weak in.
And I think once again, let's focus on how this is going to impact the organization and the communities. I mean, it sounds like you're doing a fantastic job. It sounds like you're doing hugely impactful in what you do, but this is, I suppose, where we could focus on as, a topic that you could look at as an area of growth. We can list different areas where you think there's improvement, and then from that we can then refine a topic based on everything that we've discussed here. So, just anything. I'm going to grab some water, think about it, and I'll write down.
That is true. We put it there.
One dirty farm. Kadana being maintained to put down being relaxed. And then the so relaxed.
Can I just read, would you mind if I read out a couple of things? So, just something that came up, what would enhance effectiveness? All team members had different views on the one thing that would maximize effectiveness of the organization. Below are some perspectives shared. Open and clear communication channels to enhance understanding and reduce confusion across departments. Provide space and opportunity to make decisions and to be accountable for them. Implement an individual performance framework with clear feedback loops. Capacity development. Provide more learning opportunities for professional growth. That's just some of the things that came up, but I think that's to do with the team, not the whole organization, but just some things that came out. So you mentioned something about leadership roles. Was that an area that you felt earlier on when we first started? You said when you start something, a project, or that everyone has an opportunity. Is that something that
To be involved.
That's not a weakness though. That's something that's actually a strength, that you're giving everybody a voice.
That's why I was saying this question is two in one. We talk about our strength, like in this particular case, we have a clearly stated structure, organizational structure that provides the different roles to different people. We have experienced staff.
Yes.
Those are really strengths.
Strengths, exactly.
We would want to continue with it.
Yeah.
Then when we move to the other side of the weakness, we put one would be in the implementation of the policy that we have.
Okay.
It is a weakness, and of course we would want to it's something that we would want to improve on.
All right. So implementation.
Of the policy that we have.
For example, which policy?
Because not all is not being implemented.
Human resource.
The policy that we have is human resource, but of course there are a number of details, that are embedded in
So the policy on human resources?
human resource.
Yeah.
I think that is.
What does that mean then?
Could we be having some other weaknesses?
Okay. That means that we have the policy, but sometimes there's laxity in enforcing them as it is stated.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah.
implementation.
I think that when we talk about the policy implementation, maybe there's a confusion between the policy implementation and the way of leadership, which actually talks about when you talk about leading with empathy. So at what point do your empathy work and make sure that the implementation of policy is successful at the expense of policy implementation? Because you're leading with empathy. Someone is very sick for 2 months, and you see, but then the policy provides opportunity for 1 month for you to be fully paid. So how do you balance that empathy and the policy implementation? So I think because the team are struggling here, the implementation of policy, because to some great extent there's that kind of traits within the leadership. Yeah. So that is an example where there's a difficult and there's a conflict between the policy and the way of leadership.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
All right.
So that is, I don't know whether I mentioned it.
It's true.
Okay.
I think that the personality trait assessment was very, very helpful for us, because over the years we have been seeing about laxity in implementing the policy, and at the end of every year we sit to reflect on why are we still talking about the same point year in, year out. And then the personality trait assessment came to tell us that the leader that we have is too empathetic, that he finds it hard to give people to meet the consequences of their actions or the policy. So over the time, we have sacrificed our policy at the altar of empathy.
Okay.
Yeah. And I really think that that's one thing that
It
needs
sounds like a
support.
boundary, setting clear boundaries or something, and enforcing them.
Yeah.
Even the inclusive value, the inclusiveness value sometimes comes with the empathy.
Sure.
And that is a question personally
Are
I've been
you-
asking.
Are you saying that perhaps being more so empathetic sometimes people take advantage of that? Or
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some
Okay.
people misinterpret it, and yeah.
Okay. So do you feel that perhaps it sounds like you need to set clear boundaries in place so that people understand the consequences or something like that? Or
Yes, I think that is the right one. Yeah, even if you're a leader, you're having empathy a lot, but at what point do you set boundaries which does not conflict with the set policies? So I think that's a very good one.
I can't remember what I said.
And set clear boundaries.
So people understand the consequences, or
Yeah, people don't understand the consequences.
So people are able to face the consequences of their actions.
Set
on
clear
the
boundaries,
policy.
exactly. For people to
They are
face
able
their-
to face or meet the consequences.
to understand or meet.
Because it's not like we don't understand the policy. We understand the policy. We have talked about the policy in details, year in and year out. Even people know the consequences of breaking the rules within whatever within the policy. But you find us keeping on doing the same thing over and over.
Yes.
Because we are taking advantage of the fact that no action is going to be taken.
Yes.
Even if an action is going to be taken, the person is going to reconsider their decision, you see.
Maybe just to the team, just to enable me to work with the team, maybe the aspect of the boundaries, and what are we
setting a clear boundary.
I think this boundary here is just based on what we explained. Actually, she has just explained that if you, a leader, provides opportunity for people with empathy, and then you don't follow what is set in the policies, and then you always, because of your
confusion as well.
it brings confusion. Because you're very humanitarian and you want to work with you want to make decisions based on your feelings of others against the set policy. So in this case, the proposal is the leader or leaders need to set the clear boundaries that if you don't follow what has been set, the leader should be bold enough
Correct.
to say you have breached the contract between you and the policy. So you are going to face the consequences that comes with the policy.
Understand.
Yeah.
So the one thing I didn't mention about the coaching, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow and on Wednesday, is that your current way of being, we need to honor your current way of being. Because we don't want to dismiss it, because it's made you who you are today. It's provided this incredible contribution and strength and uniqueness that you have. So the whole idea of your current way of being and the mentor we're going to get is not to, we don't want to dismiss it and say it's wrong. We want to say there's huge value and huge strength. So we want to include it, but we want to transcend it to the new way. So this is an example of a huge strength that you are empathetic as leaders, but it's causing this confusion. So we want to include it. We still want to include this amazing empathy that you have, but we want to transcend it into a new way where people understand that there will be consequences and leaders feel bold enough to express it. Yeah. So that's a clear example of include and transcend. Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So the other area we are also struggling with is that our current funding, like is on the donors, we still don't have yet like any other source that can facilitate our work. So, but we rely on donor funding still, 100%.
100%, okay.
Yeah, for now. But I think it's something we have to think about. I don't know.
Yeah, that was one of the challenges for basic needs, basic rights, is this reliance.
Yeah, we can talk about our sustainability plan for our operation beyond the donor funding. Because if all of a sudden now the donors that we have close or stop their funding,
yes,
how will we operate? So we don't have that sustainability plan beyond the donor funding.
Okay, so implement a plan for funding beyond donor.
with self-independent.
Implement a plan.
So how would you do it?
Implement or develop?
Develop it should be developed.
Develop, because we still it's not clear yet.
Okay. So
Develop a sustainability plan. Develop.
Develop and implement sustainability plan.
Yeah.
Because it makes development is there.
You let it be there in the cover.
develop a sustainability plan
to operate beyond the donor
Donor
funding.
funding.
To sustain and operate.
There is already sustainability.
Yeah. Okay.
So is it possible to use two words? Like
Develop and
develop and
implement.
implement a sustainability plan?
And then one other thing that I also wanted to have there, I love to give my things as a reflection because I want us to all participate in framing what it is. In as much as we say that one of our values is teamwork, and we try to bring out how we really exhibit teamwork. I still feel like that is an area that as an organization we need to work on. Either it should be in terms of defining what teamwork means for us as an organization, or just improving how we work with the team. Because most of the times we are so busy doing something in a team, and then confusion pops up from wherever.
Yes.
We think we have clearly defined the goals, we think we have clearly given responsibilities and roles out, so everybody is busy doing their things to achieve a common goal. But then later you realize that either we have completely failed in what we are trying to do, or we stop halfway because already there is confusion, the line of communication has been cut or distorted. Yeah.
Wow, so it's
Yeah.
around communication.
Yes, also around communication. So
Yes.
I don't know how we can bring that to support
Yeah.
us to work
It's a good point.
effectively as a team.
Good point. So it sounds like what I'm hearing you saying is that you start with something and everybody has the defined roles and responsibilities and you get going, but then you get distracted by something or something else comes up, and that causes a communication gap. So it doesn't. Are you saying you don't get to complete it fully, or?
Usually we may not get to complete it fully, or sometimes we don't get the outcome that we
Or
expected.
you don't get the outcome?
That we expected.
So how do you think you could improve that?
Okay, it's very difficult, but I'm just
It's
thinking.
different. No, you don't have to have all the
I'm just
answers
reflecting.
now.
No, I'm
You
just
don't have to have the
reflecting.
answers now.
Yeah, no, I'm just reflecting on the same, that maybe the way we could try to improve, though we are trying to foster the idea of collective work, I think we need to define to what extent is this teamwork, because at some point there's a lack of accountability.
Okay.
That's what he's talking about.
Yes.
Because you find that everyone was tasked to do certain things, but the person who is responsible to clearly collect all this information and put into one,
Needs
so
to
that is
follow
a final,
through.
is not being defined very clearly. So I think a way forward could be, yes, we can give responsibility, can work in a team.
But you have to have one person.
Exactly. Who is responsible. Because it's like that we give Patrick a task. We give a task on the same activity, but at the end of the day, I don't know whether it's a capacity or is a lack of clear defined roles for this one person to consolidate. Or I don't know, because at the end of the day, you cannot put everyone accountable or whatever unless you are having that commitment and ability as a leader.
It's a good point you make, because someone has to take the account responsibility.
Yeah.
Is that not happening at the moment, or is it?
I think it's loose.
It's loose.
Okay, so you lose. Sorry, did you say glue or?
Loose.
Oh,
It's
loose.
loose. Yeah, it's happening, but it's loose.
Okay, so, all right, well, we don't have to have it clearly defined here, but you could say something about ensuring that there is one person responsible for a completion of a task,
Yeah.
so that we are satisfied with the outcome.
Exactly.
Okay.
Something like that.
So,
You get it?
I do.
Yeah.
there is a, do you want to call it a leader?
Yeah. A leader with I don't know, with capacity or whatever. Because you know,
of course.
there could be a leader, but how that leader is engaging to make others accountable is loose.
So ensuring there is a leader assigned to a task to make everyone accountable.
Yes.
Within the team.
No, the question first is the silent thing. Because you cannot get something. We even know that he or she is
Then I'm supposed
so it's a silent thing.
It's just there, a deep thing.
So ensuring there is a leader assigned to a task to make everyone accountable within the team so that everyone is satisfied with the outcome. It's becoming worse and worse as the day progresses. So everyone is set up. Yeah, so that's, once again, that's communication. It's this and this I see as part of a clearer communication. You know, a lot of it is down to that, because we make assumptions that someone's going to do it, or someone's, you know, and everyone gets confused because no one's quite sure, and yeah. So so it's interesting what you were saying, because one of the challenges the group spoke about in Cohort 2 was, while we want to include everyone and while we want to make sure everyone's voices are heard and everyone has equal opportunity, how do we manage it when someone lets us down? So they don't produce the work that we would normally produce because we want to give that opportunity to someone else, but then they let us down, or that work that they provide is not of the same quality. How do we handle that? That was just so that you know, that was one of the challenges of the group. So it is that whole point of that, having clear boundaries and clear communication, and whilst you want to include and be inclusive, ensuring that people understand that if they go beyond that certain boundary, and what's expected.
You're right. That's not it.
Maybe for this one here, I would really think we can change something a little bit. I'm just thinking, because I'm looking at least there's a signed leader, or there's assigned people always. But I would think that maybe we could say, ensure there is a leader accountable to a task to make everyone accomplish within a team, that everyone is satisfied with the outcome. The reason why I'm using accountable here is to allow this leader, if the work is not satisfied, is not satisfactory, the leader is able to go back to the entire team to improve on that specific areas. So
and feel empowered to do that.
Exactly. So that if he's empowered, I mean, if the person is accountable, he or she will always keep going to consult to make sure that the task is to the standards.
Okay.
Because always there is a signed person. But here,
that's a good suggestion. But if you assign somebody a task, there is an aspect of
the leader is
accountability.
assigned, and they will make sure that everyone is accountable.
When I am assigned to do something, I should be able. I am accountable for that particular thing because I was assigned to do. So whether I did not do it or I did it, but it was not perfect, I am accountable because I was assigned that particular responsibility or task. So whereas the word accountability is not there clearly, but accountability, the moment you assign the task, you are responsible and accountable.
but may not meet the standards.
Then maybe when you want to bring the aspect of the standard itself.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, if you could just change this word to accountable, and then change this word accomplishment with ensure there is a leader accountable to a task to make everyone accomplish within the team. I mean, accomplish the task or whatever within the team. because already there's already assigned is already there, but you want to make that assigned person responsible to the task that has been given to the team. So it means that there's you're providing the opportunity of going back if it is not to the standards. You're providing the opportunity for the leader to continue consulting and working with the team until the task is to the standards. I don't know whether I'm confusing people more.
Okay, yes, to ensuring that there is a leader accountable.
What do you think?
According to you, ensure there is a leader
Yeah.
accountable.
Uh-huh.
But you can only be accountable about something after you being assigned.
Yeah, I don't think we need to get into the nitty gritties
After
of
you
the
being assigned.
wording. I
So
think it's,
when
we could say ensuring there is a leader assigned and responsible.
Maybe that one.
Okay.
That's another one. Because in all this we are talking about, always there's a leader who is assigned. But why are we not satisfied?
Yes.
It's because probably it's not providing the opportunity of feedback and continue engaging the.
Yeah.
But this one is okay now, responsible. So it means that if the work is not to the standards, that leader still have the responsibility to continue consulting. I think that one is perfect now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I need this one. This one. Communication. Yeah. Any other areas that you want to do before we go on to the final task of a topic?
Okay, maybe something that I want clarification on. The last day's session of the plenary. I don't know what will happen in the plenary. I am looking at how you are going to have all this information
Yes.
consolidated. It's
So-
good that you are the one who is writing, to the
Yes.
extent that you are able to, when it comes to.
So what I can do is I can type this all up for you and send it to you. So I can send this all to you. So you're asking how I'm going to,
Present.
what,
How will the nature of the plenary be?
I think plenary is not going to be in relationship to this. It's not about it. It's about a transformative plan, which is different from this.
oh,
one.
you're talking about the transformational plan. Yeah, that's something different. That's going to be, she's going to explain that now,
Yeah.
how that's going to work, yeah.
That's the inquiry I wanted to make. Okay.
So do you think we should look at what topic you want to work on now, or do you want to add any more to this?
Maybe a question as on my last on this. Is it do we need to look of area of improvement, area of growth and improvement only internally, or do we need to look at inward and outward as well? I'm just looking at
For
this
sure.
scenario where you're working with the stakeholders, but there's a lot of high expectation from the stakeholders
Yeah.
about you because of the context that we are working in. We have in our region, unfortunately, we had insurgency for over 20 years. So where even if the government or the beneficiaries, if you come with a development agenda, they expect you to pay them for them to participate in activities.
Okay.
That is the expectation I'm trying to draw in. And along the way, it affects the impact of the program. And then also it affects the sustainability of the interventions. So I don't know whether it's an idea that we could develop the strategy on how to look at that and then try to minimize it in our engagement with the stakeholders. The mindset. I don't know whether it's something that we could bring, or is there another way we can, like a strategy we can use to navigate such kind of challenges?
Okay.
Because we have been trying, though you get resistance, but to a great extent some accept and move forward. I'm just giving example, like last time, we were working in schools.
Mhm.
One of the schools says, you guys will provide only softwares, but we want hardwares from you. And what the school was talking about, there are other organizations that are building classrooms. They're providing a desk in the schools. But for us, we are working on this life skills and values
Yeah.
into the learners,
Mhm.
which actually provide the learner to become more self-aware, critical thinking, and then able to perform well in their final assessment
Mhm.
or during the assessment, building the mindset. Because the school sees that as something which is not tangible, is not seen quickly.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so they said, okay, I think your program is not. So the expectation is that if you're an organization like us, you need to go and build, you need to go and put the classroom.
But okay, so the challenge is that you're working more with intangible
Yes,
areas,
Yes.
yes,
and sometimes the stakeholders
Demand
don't value that,
tangible.
you know?
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah.
So the challenge is how do we communicate that
Yes,
so that they value it?
yeah, that's one example. And then even if you're working with teachers, you bring them for a training. They want you to pay them for coming to the training, and yet you're adding value to
Okay.
their professions.
Mhm.
Those are examples. So I don't know whether it's something that, and it has been a big challenge sometimes, but I don't know, it may not fit here, but it's something that you can, along the way, we could continue reflecting on that as a
That's a
team.
good point you're making.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I personally think that wouldn't be a weakness on our side as an organization, because to me those are external
But I think
factors.
I do agree though. I mean, it sounds like it's an area that you could find a way of explaining more the value that you bring, even though it's intangible. There's still a huge value, so it's not misinterpreted. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
And there are two things I picked from there. One is what you've just said, communicating what we bring to the community.
That's very good.
Because if we communicate and they clearly understand what this organization is up to, then maybe we are able to minimize those kind of expectations. You're able to involve and work with the right stakeholders. And then another thing that comes to my mind with that same challenge is what we were discussing in the other room with Lindy about stakeholder engagement, which we say that it is very important to involve stakeholders from the initial stage
Yes.
of program or project development,
Yes.
so that we understand their needs
Yes.
and then develop projects which are tailored to
Do you
their
not do
needs.
that? I thought you did that quite well.
Yeah, but by the fact that we are still meeting some of these challenges of expectations, it means that there is a gap somewhere that we need to improve on.
Okay.
Maybe on that point, the process of involving every stakeholders into the design, program design, is a good approach. But there are some other stakeholders that use that as opportunity, I mean, for you to give in. Because like some of the stakeholders are not stable. You might be working, for example, in education, and you're working with the ministry, but then the individuals whom you are supposed to work with in the development process, they were not there at that time. Maybe they have been transferred to that place. So as a way of trying to seek for more opportunities in the process of the implementations, they start bringing some other talks or some other issues in the same. Because even in the process of developing proposal or whatever, the expectation is you facilitate the process, but you don't have the capacity at that time to facilitate the process. When you go to consult, they can give you the information like that, but they will say, okay, you have not involved us, because the involvement is calling them in a meeting somewhere, and then you facilitate some of the cost.
Yes.
So those are the things that are there with the other stakeholders.
So there was somebody asked that question about how do we involve them right from the start, or do we go to them with something and then we improve? We say to them, is this what works for you. I'm just thinking there was somebody asked that question to Lindiwe.
Okay, maybe
So like if we start, we come up with ideas and we go to the stakeholder and we say, will this work? And then you improve it from there. I think that's something that came up.
Yeah, usually the involvement should start right from the
Yeah, open
project
window.
design.
You're hot.
No.
Right from the project design. But maybe the question will only be on how do you involve them or engage them. But in this particular
Okay.
case, you may even opt to follow some key stakeholders that have offices in their offices to
Okay.
consult with them.
Consult with them.
I think that may not have the financial implication. Then to the project or the program beneficiaries, you can move to the community of your interest based on maybe some studies that indicate that a particular area is in problem. Yes, you move there. You sit with them to discuss
Yeah.
what their problem. I think the question here is how you engage those different stakeholders, but also we are still struggling with the aspect of the mindset that whenever you engage them, they will be expecting something.
So how, the
But of
challenge
course,
is
we
how
should
do you
always-
deal with that mindset then?
Yeah,
And the
we should
expectation.
always strengthen our way of doing it, the strategies of engaging them.
Okay, this is one of them that can solve the problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's good.
To community that we bring to our communities. Do you want to enhance that or? I think that
Competing
encompasses
what we
everything.
bring to our communities.
I think that's clear.
So that they understand understand your.
What to expect, maybe.
Yeah.
Mm.
Maybe to clarify expectation or to define expectation. I don't know.
Yeah,
Something like that.
perfect. Excellent. All right.
And I think
Everyone
that's-
happy?
Yeah, we're happy.
Do you want to take a little 5-minute break?
Sure.
And then what is the time?
What's the time?
It's important to you that will help you build the capabilities that you think you need. So the patterns that are coming up, that are arising, is around communication. I'm seeing a pattern of communication. I'm seeing, just want to bring this a bit closer.
I can agree with you.
So it's really the communication around not only what we bring to our communities so that expectations are clearly defined, but it's also implementation. You said you were struggling with the fact that you have this empathy and inclusiveness, but this gets taken advantage of. So I'm just trying to think how a topic we can get to that's going to make effective organizations in the communities. So, we can just put some words down. I can come up with a refined topic tomorrow. So, it could be something along the lines, what I'm seeing here is to improve our communication style so that, do you agree with me that a pattern arising here is around communication?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I see it reflecting internally within us and also externally with the stakeholders.
That's right. I'm just going to put style, but we can change that. So that, I'm just going to put so that boundaries and expectations are clearly understood within and without.
Exactly.
Or understood intern, do you want to say internally within the organization and externally? Okay. How does that all sound to you? So, to improve our communication style, but that I'm gonna refine that, so that boundaries, we can also refine that, and expectations are understood internally within the organization and externally with the stakeholders.
Yes. I think to a good extent, it sounds good.
Because if you look at that, it's communication of what we bring to the communication. It's the fact that sometimes people take advantage because they don't understand the consequences. There is the developing a plan to go beyond our donor funding, but that's something that, there was the ensuring the leader assigned and responsible to a task to make.
I think
That's also communication. That's also communication. That's internal communication. Yeah.
Even that
Sorry.
Third point.
That's-
It's
Third
the
point is-
third point, which is a bit independent.
The third point, maybe it works around capacity within the organizations to.
But just understand, it doesn't have to, this is what's important to you now
Yeah.
as a team that's going to affect
Okay.
organization and community. So we don't have to get bogged down on, yeah.
Sounds good.
Is that, so I wanted to ask you why, sorry.
Make some comment on the boundary.
Yes, okay, I agree.
Boundaries. Well, if I may,
Yes, of course.
just request for your pardon to relate what you've written.
Sure, as I said, I think boundaries we can change, but I'm going to refine this. So to improve our communication ability rather than style. To improve our communication ability so that, should we take out boundaries and just put expectations are understood internally?
Boundaries of what is to me
Yeah.
is a bit ambiguous.
It is ambiguous, you're right.
I think
You're right. Hello, Peter, how are you? Are you coming to check up on us?
Yes,
Are you going to take away but I need
you
these
need them.
for tonight. Can I keep them for tonight?
No, I just want to replace for the other group. And put fresh
Oh,
ones.
perfect, you can do, just make sure it's 1, 2, 3, because it's all mixed up.
Oh,
1 is over there, 3 is over there. 1's here,
okay.
so just make sure you follow 1, 2, 3, please. Thanks, Peter. Okay, so to improve our communication ability so that expectations are understood internally within the organization and externally with stakeholders. So boundaries, I agree with you about being ambiguous because it's,
I think the boundary was coming because of the policy issues. And we have frequently said
yes.
that we reluctantly enforce the policy because of the leadership,
But that comes with expectations, right? Yeah.
with expectation. But the leaders or leader have too much impact. So we are thinking that there must be separation between the empathy and what is in the policy within the organization. So I think that's where the boundary was coming. So if you are not able to separate your feelings with what is guiding principle, then there's already confusion there. So
Can I work? We don't have to decide on the topic now. I'm going to work on this tonight, and then I will come back to you tomorrow when I do the offer and see if you're happy with the change I made.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So the last thing I just want to ask you, now that we kind of have this, and I'm going to refine it properly, why is this important to you? Why is this topic specifically important to you? You mentioned you want to make sure that these people don't take advantage. So do you think that's a reason? Or people take advantage maybe is not, I don't know, to ensure a clear understanding of what is expected.
yes.
And also a peaceful working environment.
Peaceful working environment.
Because sometimes those communication gaps causes conflict of interest, misunderstandings.
Okay, let me just quickly write that down.
Yeah.
Communicates, very good points. Communication causes confusion and
Conflicts of
conflict of
interest
interest. Yeah.
and misunderstandings, which exploits the internal interpersonal relationships.
Is that last point? Yes. So I've got to peaceful working environment.
Mm. So when there is
So communication gaps causes confusion and conflict of interest and misunderstanding.
which can which spoils the interpersonal relationships among the staff.
Okay.
Yeah, when there is that misunderstanding,
So it can cause
that interpersonal relationship among the staff.
okay. So it can cause stress or interpersonal relationships.
Relationship among
Mhm.
staff. Yeah.
In the tension of conflict.
It's called interpersonal relationships.
Interpersonal, that's one of the things. So this is, you made a good point about interpersonal, I think is the right word.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Communication also creates knowledge and acceptance. Because when we make communication, whether to staff or to other different stakeholders, first of all, it makes them acquire the information or the knowledge, and they will be able to accept. So that's why I'm saying communication enable knowledge or provide knowledge to different stakeholders, including staff, and subsequently acceptance.
Acceptance of what? What do you mean by that?
Acceptance of either the intervention that we are doing, especially.
Ah, okay, acceptance, okay, understand, okay.
It's the positive, on the positive aspect.
Yes.
So,
I think maybe as we also were talking about some of this assigned thing, could we say that if the communication is clear, the task can be accomplished as is expected?
okay. And how do you think this impacts the overall organization and community? So if you do all of this, what is the impact, the overall impact, you think?
First, I think it promotes the impact. I mean,
A better teamwork, do you think? Promotes,
I'm just thinking.
Facilitates attainment of the set goals smoothly.
so it's attainment of organizational goals. Excellent.
I think one of the other impact attracts partnership from different spaces.
We can really communicate results in terms of what we do. Yes. That's when
Trust and maintain good
Trust and maintain.
relationships with partners.
Excellent. This promoting, I think that's quite important because I think what you're trying to say maybe promotes motivation and that will then overall impact.
That's true. I agree with you.
Then maybe from the stakeholders, part of it, they may feel part of the ownership of they've been on, either they
Yes, so stakeholders feel part of the ownership of the program.
Program and initiatives.
Program initiative. That's excellent, well done. Jeez, that was amazing. So just last question.
Yes.
that new way, is there, and we spoke about the bee image. Is there an image that comes to mind? Okay, let's forget about the new way. I'm going to come up with a new way image. Your current way of these gaps in communication, is there an image that comes to mind for you? And you don't have to, it's difficult. I just thought if anyone had an idea of an image that comes to mind. Because it is around, so we could maybe look at something around teamwork and the gaps, something along those lines. I'll work on that metaphor. Yeah, I'll work on that, don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well done. I want to at least give you some time to have some tea because we need a bit of a break. I think we need, Peter, what time? Do they have to go in now? I think. I want to make sure that the next steps. So the next step is going to, so we're going to reach a shared agreement tomorrow around the topic. I'm going to come back more refined, and we can refine it even more. I'm going to come back with our new way, our current way metaphor, new way metaphor, and then we're going to look at developmental objectives, and I'm going to come with a self-observation exercise. Looking forward to that. Thank you so much for your input. You were amazing, and I honestly think you're working so well as a group, and well done for understanding where your areas of growth are and being open and honest about that. So well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for making our brain
You
work.
facilitated the process.
Yeah.